When I reflect on some of the successes I've had over the years, especially when it comes from someone from the outside world, someone who I don't talk to regularly, someone who I'm maybe friendly on Facebook or social media, I'm reminded how little motivation had anything to do with it. It's true. I start to feel this bit of plateau. Once you start to get to a certain level, going backwards in any way feels like rock bottom. And it's all relative, right? They say when you get something in life, then that becomes the bar, and anything lower than that can affect your happiness. Now, I wouldn't say that my happiness was really that affected. I don't need validation in my life anymore, but I do like to grow. I do like to level up in life because I feel like it's given me more purpose. I want to help people. And for me to be able to help people selflessly more often, I need to get myself to a certain place financially, with work, with my lifestyle, all that stuff. I'd like to have it set up in a way where I'm able to give back. I'm able to have true freedom. For me, I believe true freedom is, I believe Tony Robbins said, doing what you want, when you want, whenever you want, with whoever you want. And that rings really true for me. So I'd like to be in that position. When I would get those feelings, I would just buckle down and just do the work it takes. And I would do some exercises like life auditing, reverse engineering, meditating of my future self that has already accomplished or become that version of myself, and just work backwards. And a lot of times the universe gives clues and hints as to what you should be doing. So there are 3 areas I want to talk about in this video where I was able to do that. I essentially created a system to where it was able to remove motivation from the formula. Motivation was not necessary. I just had to follow the certain steps and I would yield a result that would help me level up. The first area was work. For many years, I was self-employed, still am, but I ran a marketing company with my buddy, and we would basically live off of 2 major clients. And we approached the business in so many wrong ways. We spent more than we should have. We didn't proactively find new clients by cold calling or cold emailing, or even really pushing to get more referrals. We knew growth was necessary, and I eventually branched off and started doing my own thing, where I also did websites and we did search engine optimization type stuff. And I took a lot of what I learned with my ex-business partner and I implemented it into my own little solo entrepreneur type deal. And one of the systems I created that allowed me to grow without motivation was I would make it a point to speak to every manager, business owner of any business that I frequented, especially if I went regularly. If I went twice a month, I for sure would get to know the owner. And over time, I would make sure they knew what I did. And if there was something that I could tell that needed improvement in their business, whether it was their Google page, their website, their social media, any of that, and I knew it would help grow their business, I would offer up the tip for free. I would even do a website audit. And this led them to want to work with me because I gave so much free value. And this came just by making a point to speak to the people in charge, and eventually I would turn them into my client. It would be an interesting way to invest a little bit of money in something I would already spend money doing. Like I needed to go to a pet groomer regardless. And of course, I turned the pet groomer into my client, making me a lot more money than I invested into his business. And of course, the work I did paid off and worked well, and he was able to get more traffic and we were able to track things. And there's so many small businesses that just kind of roll the dice. They're just old school. They don't have metrics in place to see how much traffic's coming in and what the conversion rate is. And so there's still so much opportunity for people out there to do this that I found that once I implemented this system, it just made things fun. I didn't need motivation to randomly cold call. I could only imagine how much the business would have grown if we took those approaches, or if I did eventually, but it wasn't, my heart wasn't in it. I didn't want to grow a marketing business. So eventually closed shop, but I still took that system with me in a way where if I'm trying to raise money for a movie, any business owner that I meet, I kind of casually drop that in there. If they're looking to throw some money at a project, if they want to get involved in Hollywood in some way, that is area number 1. Area number 2 is fitness. For many years with fitness, I would have bouts of getting a 6-pack, losing the 6-pack, getting it back. I would yo-yo diet. I did keto. I didn't fully do carnivore, but but I dabbled in like vegetarian, tried vegan, but I didn't stick to it. Like it wasn't an interest of me, but a girl I dated was vegan. So I tried to be and would sneak off and go get some Jack in the Box after our date. At the end of the day, I had to really constantly motivate myself to go to the gym, to do these workouts, to try to eat healthy. And of course, I would end up not eating healthy because I would either drink or smoke weed, and the munchies, everything tastes better, or the alcohol, you want to have something that's greasy to help absorb it and sober up. So I was all over the place. So I needed a system, and a system that I created, and it was actually a couple of elements to eliminate the need for motivation. One of them was setting, as simple as it sounds, putting my clothes for the week. I work out 5 days. I would have like a dresser drawer with 5 different levels, and I would put my socks, underwear, shorts, and shirt in there, easy to grab, put it in my bag, and I'm off. Some people like to wear their gym clothes or put it by their bedside. For me, it was this dresser drawer system. Or I used to actually have one of those little sock organizers that you would hang on your door. I used to have that set up. That worked really well. And then also I would sip on a pre-workout. As soon as I started sipping on a pre-workout, there was like a psychological effect where I didn't want to waste that energy that I was going to have, the rush of energy and the pump. So as soon as I would start sipping it, no interruption, nothing could come into play to get me from going to the gym. I was going to the gym. One thing that I learned from an article in Success Magazine a business owner wrote was, for him, the gym is non-negotiable. So I took that approach. The gym would no longer be negotiable because we're always constantly negotiating things with ourselves. And my new system was, if I didn't want to work out, I still had to check into the gym. I had to put up my stuff, get on the treadmill, sip on my pre-workout. And if I didn't want to work out after the 5-minute mark, I had to complete 25 more minutes, therefore getting a 30-minute walk, and then I could go home. I think I've only gone home one time, and it might have been because I had an audition. So that was like an exception I allowed for. But this new approach took all the guesswork out. I didn't have to overthink, should I go to work out or should I not? And this became such a habit that it felt uncomfortable not going to the gym. So sometimes I would even go on a Saturday and just use the spa area, or I would do some stretching or a little bit of bonus cardio. And then of course, when it came to the diet part and the exercise part, the things that worked for me was a stack of keto with HIIT, which is high intensity interval training. I got shredded, though I was only 138 pounds, skinny in the face, it's just my genetics. I found that for me, what makes me happier is the low fat approach, where I would lift heavy and do moderate cardio throughout the week, and then I would eat high protein, moderate to high carbs, and low fat. And that came from Mike Matthews' Bigger, Leaner, Stronger book, which I highly recommend. I also use his Stacked app to track my workouts so that I can incrementally increase. I used to take a notebook like a nerd and write down all my workouts, and eventually when I came across this app, I started using that. So the calories in, calories out approach works. Some people will argue that the types of calories make a difference. Of course, Taco Bell isn't as healthy as Chipotle. And if you think about seed oils, Chipotle isn't as healthy as you cooking it at home. But at the end of the day, the calories matter. If you're in a caloric deficit, you're gonna lose body fat. And as long as you eat enough amount of protein and do resistance training, you won't lose tons of muscle with it. You will lose a little bit. That's just how the body works. And you can't spot reduce. You can't just lose fat in one area. Your body is just gonna lose fat the way it does. And my weak spot, my area is like my lower waist, my lower back. That's where I keep most of my body fat. That's the last place that I'll burn it. So I'm working back at that approach. And now working out isn't motivation related. I just go to the gym. I do the work and then I leave and I'm done. It's gone. It's out of my mind. So to recap, for me, the gym, taking the motivation out of it, I just follow the steps, created these systems, and it becomes easier to just to do the steps. The third area is one of my favorite, communication and social dynamics. Now, I grew up extremely shy, believe it or not. I was so shy that when my brother would come to class when we were in school in Montreal, I would be rubbing my eyes and I'd be sweating and nervous because he was dropping off something for me and I didn't like the attention. And part of it has to do with maybe getting bullied a little or just kind of not really having a mentor, not having direction in my life. My dad did the best he could, but he traveled a lot. So, I was the youngest of 3 and I was an easy target to get picked on. So I stayed in a little shell. It was really hard for me to communicate, look people in the eyes when I spoke. And over time though, I started getting out of my shell, started getting out of my comfort zone. And flash forward to today, my new approach for getting out of my left brain, building more rapport with people, is to speak to people in everyday life. Whether it's at the grocery store, I'll chat it up with the cashier. easier. I'll ask something different, unique, get them out of their own little routine. They actually appreciate it. Or if I'm at a store and I'm asked if I need help with anything, maybe I don't need help, but I'll ask something like, when is this coming out? Or what do you think about this item? I used to work at Best Buy, and it made the day go by a lot faster when someone actually engaged with me and chatted about, whatever video game system or, anything. And I actually made a really good friend out of that. Shout out to you, Roy S. Ford. That is one of my favorite memories of working at Best Buy. I sold him his PlayStation 2. He ended up mentoring me and helping guide me in the direction of broadcast management, editing, and a bunch of other stuff. So just a little shout out. If you watch this video, still remember those days. So that came as a result of someone chatting it up with me, not just being a customer buying the PlayStation and leaving. We engaged him and his brother, chatted it up with me, and I helped them, gave him some recommendations. So when I'm in a situation like that, I try to engage more, because when I do work on the computer, when I'm editing, doing anything that has nothing to do with like acting or doing something on tape, I get stuck in my left brain and I get frustrated when there's an interruption or someone calls me or texts me and breaks my focus. So in order to combat that, I now try to engage with people when I'm out and about. If I'm at a restaurant, I'll ask for a recommendation. I know servers get that a lot, so I try not to be annoying. I'll ask them from 2 different options. And occasionally you'll get a server that says they're all good, or this one's good and that one sucks. And if a conversation doesn't come out organically from that point, then I just leave it. But I found that usually people, when you engage with them, they'll reciprocate, they'll chat with you. Now, another element of social dynamics and communication I've learned, and I'm even consciously doing it now, is learning to control my speech, not rushing to say what I want to say. We do that because we feel like we're about to get interrupted. And that happens to me all the time, especially when I'm at the dinner table with my family. Growing up, you couldn't get all of your words in. You couldn't even get 2 words in before getting interrupted. And I found that it's a skill to work on. Speech, eye contact. Nowadays, people are so glued to their phone, feel like that a lost skill. So proper eye contact, not the creepy kind. Speech control, and then active listening. Repeat what they say. Or even another thing that I found was pretty valuable is, if you don't understand what someone says, just ask them, hey, I didn't get that. Or can you explain that like I'm a 5-year-old? Because I don't get it. Or even another thing I like to do is ask people like what their source is. Because nowadays people just spew out headlines and it's like, where did you get that information from? Is it from the mainstream media, or are you reading stuff? It gives me an idea of where people get their information, if they read, how educated they are, or if this is just going to be one of those back and forth kind of banter type conversations. And I'm down with that too. These elements of social dynamics and communication, knowing these things and implementing these systems takes out the motivation of me really trying to force things. I just implement these when I'm out, and I found that I've been able to make friends like at the sauna, just casually asking people like, why is the sauna good? And seeing debates kind of happen between people that think it's good for this reason or that reason. And then I go look into it myself, and maybe I'll do a video on stuff like that. But it's pretty cool to just get out of your shell, chat with people, strangers. Those are the 3 areas that I've worked on, creating systems to just make things easier, make things not so dependent on motivation. I'm curious if there's any systems that you've put in place in your life that help you level up, or maybe there are things that you haven't quite figured out. I'm curious about those too. I'm working on creating systems for the kitchen for meal prepping. So those are things that I might talk about in the future. So can't wait to read what you are up to. Put a comment below, like the video, give it a little thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.